I'm Tyler. I review movies by reenacting them, in case you haven't already noticed. And today we're gonna look at Longlegs. In the 1990s, an FBI agent played by... how do you say her name? Fuck you guys.
Maika Monroe.
Thank you guys. Is assigned to investigate a serial killer known as Longlegs, played by Nicolas Cage, and the more she investigates, the sooner she realizes supernatural events tied to the case and her own past, and it becomes a race against time to catch Longlegs before it's too late. Going in, I had hoped director Osgood Perkins had learned from his past two mistakes and made something more in tune with the Black Coat's daughter, while also worrying its plot could have felt like an elongated TV pilot as opposed to a movie, but I am weirdly happy to say I haven't felt this fucked up by a horror movie in a long time. Once the credits rolled, which rolled backwards, I might add, I had to point that out to the guy sitting next to me and I just went, that's just rich. I felt like I had whiplash. I instantly regretted standing up, but I knew if I sat back down, I'd be there forever. A lot of people are saying this is the best crime horror since Silence of the Lambs. I would compare this movie more to Seven in the fact that the most investing, frightening aspect of the film isn't just the visuals or how menacing the villain is. It's the actual mystery that detectives are trying to unravel and the high-stakes police experience in witnessing and questioning evil on a regular basis that make us root for them. And whether they're decoding ciphers the killer left behind, investigating a crime scene, or actually on the hunt for Longlegs, every scene feels suspenseful. Osgood Perkins is at his best when he just lets the camera work tell the story, and not even in a flashy way, although he definitely has stylistic choices that are distinctly his, like the fact that all of his movies start with this random quote that has to do with the themes. There are so many scenes where characters are just framed in these wide shots with lots of open, empty space where you're constantly looking back and forth between the characters in the background, just expecting Longlegs or anyone to just jump out and attack. And when Longlegs is in the frame, sometimes the empty space behind him can make his presence feel even creepier. Perkins does his usual trick of having the slow zoom-ins that make you just anticipate something dreadful. The flashbacks, no real surprise, when they're told in the grainy home video format, make you feel as if you're reliving an old nightmare. And much like Black Coat's daughter, the real scares from the movie come from the anticipation and tragic aftermath of a murder as opposed to the act of violence itself. And for some people that'll be anticlimactic, I can understand that, but for me, it's the kind of horror that doesn't make you jump, but it lingers and lingers as the movie goes on to the point where I could feel my heart skip a beat a few times, but I instantly recognize more the times I hyperventilated or the moments where I had to stop myself from shaking once I realized I was doing it. That said, there are a few jump scares that kind of pissed me off. They weren't false alarms, and they did technically have a purpose to the story, but they were so abrupt, always relied on bursts of loud music, that it felt like a cheap trick. And the sound design is as disorienting as any other Oz Perkins movie, so it just felt completely pointless. Maika Monroe does a good job without emoting that much. Her character comes across as very bland and lifeless, but given her asocial personality and workaholic nature, one of the only uplifting scenes in this film is ironically her awkwardly trying to make small talk with a co-worker's daughter, and it really goes to show just how little she communicates with other people, and that dull personality actually works to her advantage. She's the typical rookie who's smarter beyond her years, but because there is something supernatural going on, and whenever she finds a major clue with little to no effort, you're always sitting there wondering, wait, is she psychic? Is there a ghost giving this information to her? Or is she just remembering all of these repressed events of her past? And when she's in the line of duty with her pistol ready, that is the only thing of hers that is ready. Her face is filled with terror. She hyperventilates like crazy. A little too often, but when it works, it does a great job of putting you in her position. Blair Underwood really surprised me as the mentor/partner of the movie because he's much more open-minded in encouraging Monroe's deductive skills, but not without the original skepticism of wondering where all of these abilities come from and testing her with the most grotesque of crime scenes to test her skills and her willpower. Sabrina the Netflix witch Kiernan Shipka is only in one scene as Longlegs' only survivor, and her character is very similar to her Black Coat's daughter role, but at the same time, Shipka is great as always, giving a performance kind of like Monroe, where it is emotionless but makes it fit the atmosphere, where she's describing the most fucked up things that happened to her family in such a nonchalant way that make it even more ominous and terrifying. Speaking of terrifying, let's just get to what everyone wants to hear about. Nicolas Cage as a serial killer, which kind of sounds like TMZ's dream headline if you think about it. But honestly, the most surprising thing is, I think this is the first serial killer he's ever played.
I'm a vampire! I'm a vampire!
Have you ever been dragged to the sidewalk and be until you pissed blood?
I was going to use clips like this to show how the movie builds up his presence as a mysterious threat by constantly hiding his face, or mentioning that when we do see him, even though it's clearly Nicolas Cage, the prosthetics and makeup on him look so much more grotesque and different from his usual characters. But then I made the mistake of actually calling him himself.
Fuck. Oh my god. Oh.
That's how fucking terrifying he is. Now, fair warning, if you go into this movie just expecting Cage to scream insane things or fuck people up himself, you're gonna be disappointed, because while he does have a fair share of those moments, he's more of an emotionally manipulative killer in a way that I've actually never seen in a movie before. It was so original and fresh that I don't want to give anything away, other than part of what makes him fucked up is that he's treated more like any other character in the movie. They don't give him special treatment just because it's Nicolas Cage playing a serial killer. He only shows up when it's necessary to the script, which just makes every scene that he's in feel all the more impactful. If I had any problems, Monroe's introduction on a completely separate case felt pointless and unessential, and it even implies a relationship she had with a former partner that's never addressed, not even between the two of them. Perkins has never been the greatest at pacing, and while I do think this is his best movie, I felt the runtime a lot more in this one compared to Blackcoat's Daughter, especially towards the third act. It started to feel really meandering and repetitive, and I was kind of wondering, where are we going with this? And there's a vital piece of information tied to Blair Underwood's character that is so blatantly obvious related to the case that I'm kind of wondering why he didn't realize that until it was too late. Although, given the implications of the ending, you could make the argument that that was intentional, but I don't really buy into that. But I have to admit, the climax gave me the biggest rush with the emotional turmoil that Monroe had endured through it, and that's really what makes Longlegs such an immersive experience. It's the emotional journey the characters go through and the way the actors portray it that make the visuals, the sound design, and the script just so fucking insane. I highly recommend you check out Longlegs in theaters. If you're a fan of Seven, Silence of the Lambs, Mindhunter, and can tolerate a satanic twist towards it, you're gonna get one of the biggest thrill rides you have seen in years. Definitely check out Longlegs. Guys, thanks as always for watching. Let me know in the comments below what you thought of Longlegs, and is this Osgood Perkins' best movie? Let me know in the comments below. Be sure to like, subscribe, check me out on Patreon, and buy me a coffee, and I'll see you guys in the next review. Take care.